Welcome to the Crash the Pond podcast. It is a Monday, March 14th edition of the show. And Jake, there is one single piece of information today that reigns supreme above all. Can you guess what it is? There is one topic that is the most important today.
Is it that the Ducks have not won a game on this road trip yet?
It is that today is Pi Day.
Oh.
3/14.
That's where you were going. I was like, you can't, yeah.
3.14.
3.14, and 3 plus 1 is 4, and 44 is 2 more than 42, and 42 is Josh Manson's number.
Wow, that was actually impressive.
I was trying to figure out an actual correlation with 3.14 and 42 and could not make it.
No, you managed.
Oh, damn it. Here it is.
You managed something.
Here it is. 3.14. 3 minus 1 is 2, and the last number is 4. Flip that around, you get 42.
I mean, your first thing worked. I don't know why you had to do that, but hey, that works.
I like the second one better.
You doubled up. It is also Stephen Curry's birthday, so it's a great day. It's a great day to sports wise and holiday wise. You can't really go wrong. But in all seriousness, I'm trying not to beat around the bush too much. We got a little lucky today because going into today, I thought, okay, well, doesn't look like there's going to be any news. We're going to have to talk about this road trip and just kind of the usual bit. But late this afternoon, we get the news that we've been waiting for years now, and that is Josh Manson traded to the Colorado Avalanche in return for Drew Helleson and a second-round pick in next year's draft. The Ducks retained 50% of Josh Manson's cap hit. So this is the deal, Jake. This is what we've been waiting for. This is what we've been clamoring for. A true rebuild type move. A pending UFA gets dealt. A team, a fan favorite, popular in the locker room, popular among fans. You'll recall the quote last year that your wife doesn't love you as much as the Ducks love Josh Manson. And yet here we are, Pat Verbeek, weeks really into his tenure as the Anaheim Ducks GM, has pulled the trigger cold, calculatingly, and we're on the other side of it now. Your thoughts? What was your reaction? What was your gut reaction?
My initial gut reaction was, what's the pick? Because we didn't know. It was first reported by Kevin Weeks. We should give him credit of the Ducks trading Josh Manson for Drew Helleson and a pick. It took a while. Renaud Lavoie.
Yeah, got it wrong.
Said a third. I got corrected so much by my quote tweet. And
I deleted.
Yeah,
I just deleted.
I decided to leave it and just add another tweet as a follow-up. I probably should have. But then Pierre LeBrun, Elliot Friedman followed up saying it was a second-round pick.
Yep.
So I think with all of these, it's hard to have an initial reaction because you don't necessarily know a lot about the prospect. You don't know a lot about where he was taken necessarily.
I had a gut reaction.
What was your gut reaction?
My gut reaction was, well, especially when I saw the third-round pick, I was like, that's it?
Yeah,
that's the return. And I didn't know anything about Drew Helleson. I mean, full disclosure, I'm still not a Drew Helleson expert, but that gut reaction has definitely changed even in the minutes and the hours that followed. I mean, now I would not hold that same opinion.
Well, yeah, and I think this is a fantastic return, and I think the Ducks ended up getting, I think just kind of jumping right on into it, the Ducks ended up getting essentially 2 second-round picks. If you want to just break it down purely by value, Drew Helleson was a second-round pick in the 2019 draft, same draft as Trevor Zegras, just for kind of context there. And they also got a 2023 second-round pick. So they got 2 seconds for Josh Manson. Just purely looking at value, I would say that's probably about similar to what was kind of reported as being the ask for Ben Sherratt and similar type defenseman of a first and a fourth. I'd say 2 seconds, especially when you factor in that Drew Helleson was a second, but it's now multiple years since he's improved and he is probably NHL ready. He's going to be an NHL regular. I think Chris Peters said by the 23-24 season. So that means next year he'll probably be up and down. 2 years he'll be a complete NHL regular.
Are you surprised that it's Colorado?
A little bit, just because I don't think I had heard them necessarily being in on defensemen. I didn't necessarily know that what they were looking for, but I think it was on 32 Thoughts. Didn't Gabe Landeskog get a procedure done? Or am I misquoting? Someone on the Avalanche just got a procedure done that will basically make it so they're out until the playoffs start, and it's something that they could have played through, but they decided to get it done. Let them be healthy come playoff time, and by doing that, that clears up some cap space for them.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anyone on injured reserve for Colorado.
Maybe I'm making this up then. We've got Spencer in our Twitch chat.
Landeskog is not listed on any type of IR, but maybe this is all pending. I mean, it's not hugely important. I think the surprise it's not really that it's a surprise. It's just when we've always talked about Manson trades, Toronto has always been the one that we've brought up. However, the thing that we've got to keep in mind, and I think this is kind of a good starting point for evaluating the return on this trade, is that it wasn't a situation where the Ducks could just trade Josh Manson anywhere. He had a 12-team no-trade list, and that really dictated where you can send him, because it's not just that it's 12 teams, it's that it's 12 teams that you could potentially send him to, but now the market is restricted even further, and within that restricted market, there's other restrictions because not all of those teams are actually on the hunt for a rental defenseman. So that was a big constraint that the Ducks had to work through, and I would guess that none of the Canadian teams, I don't think any of the Canadian teams would have been an acceptable destination for Manson. I'm pretty sure that they were all on his no-trade list.
Yep, and also wanted to add in, so a bunch of people in the Twitch chat are chiming in, including Spencer, who's an actual Avalanche fan, saying Landeskog's having knee surgery.
Okay, so it's just not official yet. Yeah. Or it's not. He's not listed as on IR.
Knee cleanup, so not a long-term injury, more so something to just kind of make himself be healthy come playoffs. So he'll be out for the remainder of the season, gives them LTIR to work with, and that allows them to bring on Josh Manson.
Yeah, and I mean, the Ducks did retain half, so you're just really kind of sweetening the deal there if you're the Ducks. I think that, aside from just the fact that the Ducks were working under these constraints, I think that evaluating the return here in terms of just sheer trade value is really important. And this is something that you and I were talking about a little bit earlier, because our expectation was that the Ducks would get a first-round pick, because that's what the market has basically said over the last few years. Mm-hmm. A rental defenseman of Josh Manson's ilk gets you a first-round pick and some kind of prospect. Did not get them a first-round pick, got them a second-round pick, and got them Drew Helleson, who is a former second-round pick. And this is all, mind you, while the Ducks retain the maximum 50%. So what that tells me, at least, is I think that the Ducks I think Helleson was maybe not exactly, quote-unquote, their guy, but a guy that they valued highly because he's a right-handed D. He's kind of in that Josh Manson mold, and his college career is presumably over, and so he's about to make the step. So I think that profile was probably really attractive to the Ducks, because it's not a guy that you're starting all the way over with.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, kind of looking at the pure value of this, I think we were constantly looking at first-round pick. But what did we mention, I don't know, 3-4 months ago, right? With regards to the deadline, was that maybe with the way this season has gone, when everyone was talking about, should the Ducks be sellers? Should they retain their free agents to go on a playoff run? Turns out, obviously, the answer to that was no, with how the season has gone. But in terms of what they should do, one of the things that you and I both suggested was maybe adjust what you're looking for. Instead of purely looking for first-round picks, that, granted, first-round picks are making the NHL quicker than ever, I think, right now. But maybe you adjust that to, instead of getting a first-round pick that you're going to be drafting, and essentially he's a 17, 18-year-old right now, you look at trying to get a prospect that's 20, 21 right now that more so fits exactly in your age, your contending window. And that's what Helleson does. I mean, Helleson is 20 years old right now. He's going to be 21 later this month. Same draft, like I said, as the Zegras draft. Fits perfectly with the Ducks' contending window, because he's going to hit his prime in 2-3 years, or no, probably a little bit more than that as a defenseman, probably 25. So in about 5 years or so, and maintain that. And defensemen are able to maintain that level because defensive impact is a little bit easier to maintain long-term than offensive impact. And this is just basically a move that, I mean, maybe just to summarize it, is the Ducks traded Josh Manson for basically a 20-year-old Josh Manson.
Yeah, and he's about to be 21. I think you already mentioned that, but there's also just the cold reality that the Avalanche don't have their first or second round pick in this year's draft, and so you just can't get it's already gone. I think it is kind of interesting that the Ducks couldn't get next year's first round pick from the Avalanche, and so my guess would be, and this is again just a lot of speculation, but that if you're the Avalanche, trading a first round pick that far into the future, even though it's just a year from now, like who knows what could happen, right? Injuries, nightmare season. And then all of a sudden you got to look back and say you traded that pick for a rental.
And I don't think it was first plus Helleson. I think if you wanted the first, you didn't get Helleson.
Exactly. And I think the Ducks correctly valued Helleson over next year's first for Colorado, because even though sure there might be a nightmare scenario where Colorado isn't as good next year, I mean we don't know what's going to happen with some of their free agents. Is Kadri going to be back? That like there's some decisions there. But ultimately, the second round pick, I mean, there's still value there. And then Helleson, I think, is the ideal. I mean, this is like you already mentioned this, but we've been talking about this. How if you're the Ducks now, seeing what they've done this year, you start prioritizing guys who are a little closer. But the thing is, I mean, I don't know if you would call Drew Helleson a blue chip prospect necessarily. I mean, he's clearly not their top D prospect. He's probably firmly third. But I think that this is a different caliber than the types of players that we've seen Bob Murray bring in over the last couple of years. That, you know, the kind of more retread guys who just didn't work out with their first team.
Well, here's, I think, kind of what this instantly does for the Ducks as a franchise is it instantly kind of sets them up to essentially be a bit deeper defensively in their prospect system. Because I think this plus the Zellweger draft, a lot of that, I mean, don't look now, but I mean, they've got under the age of 21 years old or 21 years of age, they've got Helleson, Lacombe, Thrun, Drysdale, Zellweger.
Yep. And
Ian Moore also, depending on how he ends up turning out.
Well, I was also going to mention that now if, let's say, you're not able to keep some of those college guys, you have a little more slack.
Yeah, because
it's not quite as disastrous if a Henry Thrun or a Jackson Lacombe doesn't end up coming over.
Yeah, and I don't think I said. I think I accidentally didn't say Drew Helleson from the Twitch chat. But regardless, with Helleson, I think maybe this factors in somewhat. It doesn't really at all now that I think about it. But he's friends with Trevor Zegras, which probably helps out a little bit.
Yeah, I mean they've played together on Team USA, but of course that's not the biggest factor here.
He's the fourth member on this team, or fourth member in the system that will be from that 2021 World Junior Championship.
You've got Sam Colangelo, Trevor
that's
Zegras.
5.
Okay, Blake wasn't there.
No.
Henry Thrun,
Jackson Lacombe, and now
yeah. So the Ducks are building a little hive of that world. Is Cole Caulfield next? No, I'm just kidding.
I didn't even have to throw that one out.
I'm just saying it so that because I know someone's gonna throw that out there. So I think overall, I said it on Twitter and I still stand by it. I would give this trade an A. Mm-hmm. I think that this is exactly what you need to do. And I know that we know for a fact that there are people out there who are underwhelmed by the return. But that's just kind of the nature of this type of trade, is that you're trading present value, which you can see, you can look at the stats, it's tangible, for future value. And the future value is not quite as tangible, but that's the type of trade, it's the type of philosophy that you need to embrace. And I think that it firmly says, it backs up what Pat Verbeek has said, which is that this team is still in the middle of a rebuild. This is a rebuild trade. You don't do this if you're gunning for a playoff spot.
Pat Verbeek has done more for the Ducks rebuild in
this one trade
in 1 month than Bob Murray did over the tenure of his GM.
Well, I mean,
being a GM.
How much credit do you give him for the draft picks? Because that's part of it.
I'm purely talking trades.
For trades, then yes, absolutely. And you know, I think kind of spinning it forward now, looking to the summer. One of the rumblings was that, look, Josh Manson really loves playing in Southern California, and maybe the Ducks and his camp were not quite as, you know, conversational negotiating towards the end because the Ducks just know that Manson wants to be there. Well, now this summer, if the Ducks decide, hey, maybe we can bring him back, they have that option now, and they've gotten the value in return. Like, you get the best of both worlds. I don't know if that will happen because Manson's going to be able to field a bunch of offers, but if he truly loves playing in Anaheim that much, maybe you see him back. I wouldn't rule it out.
If you are Josh Manson and you absolutely love playing in Anaheim, what's better for you? You staying here, signing an extension, or them moving you? You go to potentially the number 1 seed in the playoffs, the cup contender, the top seed, the favorite.
I think they're the favorites, right?
Yeah, they're the favorite. You go to the favorite, you get a chance to win a cup, and then if you want to, you can come back in the offseason, sign back with the team in the location that you like, and now that team is more well-suited to be better in the future because of you moving. So, like, this could be both the Ducks and Manson having their cake and eating it too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that for example, if he goes on a deep playoff run with the Avs, they win a Stanley Cup, that's going to increase his price tag. That's going to increase his leverage, and that's a win for him. And then the Ducks can make their decision when it comes down to it. So, like you said, it's a win-win. It is still there is something just kind of crazy though about the fact that it finally happened. When I was looking up his name on Cap Friendly, seeing the logo, the Colorado Avalanche logo above his name, it still doesn't feel completely real for some reason.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, to Manson's credit, I think he's going to help the Avalanche out. He's been good this year, and I think going to the Avalanche, they're a team with a very good system and a very good coach that are going to be able to take advantage of the way that he plays. And you and I have talked about this a bunch, but Manson, when he's at his best, he's not going out of his way to play physical. He's a guy that can make really smart, simple plays, 5-foot passes, 10-foot passes that can help break the puck out. That's when he's at his best. And I think that on the Avalanche, he can kind of be put in a position. I think the only concern I would slightly have, if you're an Avalanche fan listening to this, trying to get a feed on what Josh Manson is that the only concern is the Avalanche, I don't think, really have any physical defensemen necessarily. Maybe I'm misremembering. They have Curtis McDermott. That's right.
Jack Johnson.
Yeah, okay, never mind.
Is Eric Johnson physical? I don't know.
Maybe, but what I was going to say is maybe he feels like it's his role to go out and be physical, and that's when he's at his worst, is when he goes out of his way.
Yeah, I don't think that will be the case. I mean, now the Avs look a lot better on the blue line. I mean, their blue line right now, I don't know if they have any guys that are injured. Oh, I guess, Bo Byram, Girard is out. I was on an Avalanche podcast earlier, and I guess when everyone is healthy, the ideal pairing for Josh Manson is with Samuel Girard, and
that's perfect.
I think it's perfect because I think the biggest reason that Manson has been able to get back to this level this year is because of playing with Cam Fowler, and Samuel Girard is not exactly Cam Fowler, but he is in that mold of a mobile defenseman who's going to really carry the mail on the breakout. And so that way Manson, because we've seen it with Manson, when he has to be the guy on the breakout, it doesn't go very well.
Yeah, he's the one that wants to make the quick little 5-foot pass to let someone else break the puck out.
Yeah, when he's trying to dangle, when he's trying to do it on his own, it's just you're rolling the dice every time. Yep.
Yeah, and so, I mean, let's just do this. Some scouting reports on Drew Helleson. So this was Scott Wheeler's report on him prior to this season in college, where I think he's actually made big improvements from certain things that I've read. But just on Helleson, who has always been a strong defender who has NHL size, smooth skating mechanics, and an impressive feel for spacing and timing, has developed in his play and aggression with the puck in the last 2 seasons to really round into form as one of college hockey's top two-way defensemen and to earn an invite to play for USA men's hockey at the Olympics. He now involves himself regularly in the Eagles' attacks, looking to activate off the line consistently. That complements his long-standing ability to defend the rush, maintain good positioning in the defensive half, rarely make the wrong choice with the puck or on a read, and just sound instincts and intuition in all 4 corners of the ring. He projects as a steady, reliable number 5, number 6 defenseman. And so reading that kind of reads as like his floor to me, is a six defenseman on a good team.
Yeah, and I think with Drew Helleson, the reports from, let's say, last year are more of that of a kind of low ceiling defensive defenseman type player. And now I think his stock has really shot up this year, and it seems like maybe he's added a tiny bit more offense to his game, or maybe a lot of it, depending on who you talk to. And I think that's really exciting just because now maybe for the Ducks, the worst case scenario is that they get Josh Manson or at least, like close to Josh Manson. And the best case scenario is that maybe they get a little bit more, a guy with a little bit more offensive upside to his game. Because just watching the few clips I've seen of Drew Helleson, you can already tell that his skill level is higher than Josh Manson's. So if he's able to carry that over at all, the Ducks, I think, are in for a really nice return.
I mean, and even just comparing it, at Boston College this past year, he had 25 points in 32 games, whereas Manson in his final year of college, which also would have been his junior year, had 10 points in 33 games. So he's just been a more productive player. And, let me ask you this, because this is something I've kind of gone back and forth on in my own head. With looking at prospects in general, is how much do we just kind of throw away some of the stats from last season?
You mean with all the restrictions?
And COVID and shortened seasons and everything like that?
It's hard to say. It matters still, but maybe you do have to factor that into a degree. I don't think you can throw it out completely, though.
No, but I think that you might weight this season more than you do 2 seasons ago.
The fact that he has shown growth, the fact that he's added dimensions to his game, that's all you need to know. That there is an upward trajectory there.
Yep.
And now I guess that the question becomes with Helleson, because I think he really is he is the centerpiece of this deal for the Ducks, the centerpiece of the return. Does he make because we were just talking about this before we started recording, does he make the jump to the NHL this season? Or maybe reading into Verbeek's comments, is he going to spend some time in the NHL?
So just some bookkeeping on this. His college season is over. And so I'm going to assume that he was going to sign an NHL contract soon. I don't think if you're Pat Verbeek, you make this deal for Drew Helleson if the idea was he was going to go back to college. Because
you saw the replies of, oh, why are they trading for a college guy? He's not going to sign. It's Justin Schultz all over again.
And just to add some context there, Justin Schultz, I always find a weird one. It's so front of mind for everyone because it was the Ducks. That was a weird one, though, where he was able to become a free agent after his junior year because he played in a specific BC junior league, that there was a random loophole where if you played in that league and 3 years of college, you became a UFA.
Right.
It was really strange. Whereas this is just... basically, you have 4 years to sign your entry level or the guys that you drafted to an entry level contract. If you don't, then they become free agents, and that's kind of how it works. And so that's where if Helleson had decided, and same thing with Thrun, same thing with Lacombe, same thing with all of them. If they decide to go back for their senior year, they can wait it out till the summer of 23, which would make them UFAs. And so that's why, when we're talking about signing him to a deal, that's why this year is so important. And so my understanding of this, and someone correct me if I'm wrong on Twitter or whatever, but my understanding of this is if Helleson signs his deal, he doesn't have to play in the NHL in order to burn the year. Because he is over 20 years old, because that's the ELC slide. If you're 18 or 19 by September, and you don't play over 9 NHL games, your entry-level deal slides, doesn't burn the year. Whereas if you're over that, and Helleson was 20 as of September, and you just play in any game because your entry-level deal has AHL and NHL salary, then that counts as a year off your deal because you're playing games right then. So I think... I could be wrong here, though. This is something I tried looking up. I'm not necessarily positive on. But I think if he plays signs the ELC and plays in the AHL, then he does not burn the year off his deal. Or sorry, he does burn the year off his deal. If he were to sign an ATO, an amateur tryout, and then sign in summer, then it wouldn't burn the year. My assumption here is he's probably going to sign his ELC. He's probably going to play a game or two with the Ducks. Probably play the rest of it with the Gulls.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say just because now with a different management group, we don't know exactly what the precedent is, because we've seen if it were still Bob Murray, we would have some comparable situations to point to.
You might have to dangle it in front of him also because, here's the other thing. When you play in the NHL, even if you're not playing, if you're scratched, you get paid your NHL salary. Mm-hmm. And so maybe this is hey, we're going to do you a favor. You're going to play a couple games. The rest of them you're going to be scratched for. Then you're going to make your NHL contract, and we're just not going to play you in the AHL. We're going to let you do that, give you that money essentially as a make good towards you.
I mean, there has to be some degree of enticement from the Ducks towards Helleson.
Yeah, exactly. And Ken Pafu's asking, why isn't Helleson in the Ducks cap friendly? That's because he has not signed a deal yet.
Yeah, he should be on the reserve list.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Yeah, he's in. If you go to reserves on cap friendly, he is in there. So he is part of the Ducks organization.
Yep.
Yeah, reserve list. So it's going to be interesting from that point of view. I do want to quickly touch on a narrative though regarding Manson. So not to completely shift away.
Okay.
But you've seen. I guess it doesn't really matter anymore for us to discuss this or not. But I think that there's a lot of people who came out, like for example, Jay Fresh saying, Manson's probably not worth it, or there's some big flaws in his game, and we've been very critical of Manson here in the past. I mean, particularly last season, and not even just his play, but I mean the decision making, the fighting, all of that. I feel like Manson has barely fought this year. Just like this just hit me right now. But anyway, the point is, I think that last year, the season that he had is not completely representative of the player that he is or the player that he can be. Because this year, if you look at his underlying numbers, they're a lot better, and not just like the on ice impact, but even the isolated impact. And then if you look at, for example, the tracking data, he's great at suppressing zone entries against. His zone exits are actually quite good as well. And so, I think this is just like a very fair deal for both teams. Yeah, I think that both teams got what they wanted, what they maybe even needed. I mean, because we talked about it, we were talking about it earlier in the season. But for example, if the Ducks sell off a Lindholm and a Manson, you look at their defense pipeline, and it's not like there's maybe a little uncertainty there. And so now you're able to address that. You get a valuable pick in a second rounder, which you can either use or you can trade. It just and then for the Avalanche, they get a player in Manson who I think will help them. So it just. I don't know. It doesn't happen all the time, but I don't have I don't have any strong criticism or strong takes on this. I just think it's a good deal.
Yeah. And I think that's the sign of that this was a good deal.
Two smart GMs coming together.
Yeah. Two smart GMs where it's kind of working out for both teams well. And at the end of the day, that's what a trade should be.
Yeah.
Trades shouldn't necessarily be about one team winning and one team losing like Bob Murray thought you had to do. You had to win every deal. It should be about one team that's in a different position from one another, trading an asset for something of equal value that will help the other team in their position.
Right. And I think that the big key, the big underlying assumption in all of this is Pat Verbeek accepts the fact that the Ducks are in a rebuild, right? Bob Murray, sure, you can talk about not winning the deal, but are we that confident that he was fully embracing the rebuild? I mean, I know that this year, right, we got fed the narrative from camp onward, but that was a lot of talk, and there was very little action to support that, any evidence to support that they really believed that they were in a rebuild. And so this, it's going to sound crazy, but it's important to have a realistic view of your team in the NHL to move forward. If you keep living in denial, you're just going to be. I mean, you're going to be what the Ducks have been the last 3 years.
Let's be realistic here. The Ducks could potentially be in the playoff mix next year. I think that's a realistic possibility.
This hasn't compromised that.
No, and I think that they could potentially be contending in 2 years. Right? The 23-24 season is when that contending window can potentially open. This is what came from Chris Peters, but or this was on the Daily Faceoff, which kind of quoted Chris Peters a little bit, basically saying, our Daily Faceoff prospect analyst Chris Peters believes Helleson is trending towards a number 4, number 5 defenseman in an NHL lineup. Once fully formed, Peter projects him to be an NHL regular by 23-24. Perfect.
So there you go. I mean, and you have to imagine that this is all part of the thought process. It's not an accident that the Ducks specifically targeted this player, right? And I mean, and we know that based off of Verbeek's comments. We can just see it based on the trajectory of the team. I don't know. To me, there's still a lot of work to be done. We still don't know what's going to happen with Lindholm. We still don't know what's going to happen with Raquel. But this to me is a good litmus test for, is Pat Verbeek actually an upgrade over Bob Murray?
Yes.
I think we already know now,
and
based off this one trade.
Honestly, I think when you look at the criticism of this trade, I think the thought process behind that, I think, reinforces that Verbeek did the right thing.
Right.
In some ways, when you look at the logic behind essentially being critical of the deal, it's, they didn't get anyone back that will impact the lineup. It's like, yeah, exactly. That is what they should be doing. Like, they should not be looking at getting someone with exact value right now in a Josh Manson deal. Like, this is what they should be doing. So, really, really awesome to see from the Ducks. And I mean, let's just get to a quick word from our sponsor before we keep on going with this.
Yep.
So this episode is brought to you by Mack Weldon. So it's no secret that we all want to look our best this spring, right? Mack Weldon is the expert when it comes to stylish essentials, perfect for the new season. Whether you want to upgrade your sweats collection or need gear that stands up to the changing weather, Mack Weldon has exactly what you're looking for. And if that's not convenient enough, let me tell you about Mack Weldon's daily wear system. All the clothes work together for real. So whether you're headed to work, going for a run, or just hanging out on the couch, getting dressed takes no effort at all. So, I mean, Felix, you and I have been big fans of Mack Weldon. What are some of your favorite things? What are some of your favorite things lately from Mack Weldon?
You know, sometimes in life you find that one thing, you find that one piece of clothing.
Oh, are you going there?
I'm cutting right to the chase, and that would be the Ace sweatpant. It's the first item I ever got from Mack Weldon, and bar none, the most comfortable sweatpants I have ever owned, have ever worn. And they're also not hideous to look at, which a lot of sweatpants are. They're actually pretty stylish. They have a nice tapered fit. They will make you look amazing and feel amazing because they're warm, but when it gets a little warmer, you're also not just sweating out of your eyeballs, which is really nice. I'm actually wearing them right now, recording this show, and I feel great doing it. So I would highly recommend them. It is getting a little warmer out, but it's still pretty chilly at night. And for all our listeners that are maybe not living in Southern California, there's still a lot of cold that you're going to have to endure. And I would highly recommend the Ace sweatpant.
The Ace sweatpants are amazing. It is like, without a doubt, my favorite sweatpant of all time. And that's not just because they're a sponsor of this show. They are fantastic.
They're amazing.
They're fantastic. It's amazing. I've also recently got their Maverick Tech Chino pants. Great work pants. Absolutely perfect. Look great. Fit great. If you're looking to upgrade your wardrobe for work, cannot recommend the Chino pants enough from Mack Weldon. They also have, their underwear is always great. Everything from Mack Weldon, you just can't go wrong at all. So for anyone who's looking to step up their daily routine, please don't miss any of these items. So you can check out Mack Weldon for yourself and save 20% on your first order. Visit mackweldon.com/crash. So just crash and enter promo code crash. Again, that's mackweldon.com/crash and enter promo code crash for 20% off. Find your perfect look for this spring.
Spring forward.
Mm-hmm.
Time change.
Yeah. How are you feeling after that?
It's thrown me off. It's thrown me off a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I feel, because I am someone who's really routine based and I kind of do the same things at the same time every day. And I have that slight little tweak. It's thrown me off ever so slightly. But I'm also loving it because it's not dark at 5:30 anymore.
Yeah. I think today was a tough day I couldn't go to bed early enough last night. And so it really screwed me up. But, you know, I think around 3 o'clock was when I was starting to get tired. And the Josh Manson trade came through to just wake me on up.
Yeah, that really energized me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just nothing like a trade.
So
okay.
I give this a grade.
I gave it a grade already.
On both sides.
I said it. Ooh, from an Avalanche perspective? I think, if I'm going to be consistent with what I've said, I think it has to be an A. They didn't give up a top flight prospect. Helleson is a good prospect, but they didn't give up one of their main guys. They didn't give up a first-round pick, and they got a guy who's going to help them and who addresses a pretty glaring need in their lineup. So it has to be an A. Mm-hmm. And then from the Ducks' perspective, I want to reiterate the fact that the Ducks were not working in a perfectly in a perfect environment where they were constrained by where they could trade Josh Manson, and that did affect who they can negotiate with, the leverage that the other team at the negotiation table has against them. So all that considered, getting a second-round pick, getting a prospect of Helleson's caliber, I think it's an A as well. So it's an A on both sides.
I completely agree with that. And I'm excited to see what happens. I think that this is a good sign of things to come. Do you want to briefly touch on kind of the rest of the I guess, the rumor mill around the Ducks?
Yeah, well, so, I mean, really right now, the one that I think we're all watching is Hampus Lindholm.
Mm-hmm.
Because with Hampus Lindholm, the reports are getting more and more specific. And now we're getting word that the Ducks and Lindholm's camp have not spoken in the last week, I believe, on an extension. And the Ducks are basically drawing the line at 5 years, it sounds like. Lindholm wants more, and that's where things stand. Now, do you think there's any chance that the Ducks are going to extend Hampus Lindholm?
I think there's always a chance. Up until he's moved, there's always going to be a chance. And so maybe it gets lower and lower every day. I think maybe a week or two ago I would have put it at 50-50. I think right now it's maybe 20-80 to traded versus moved. And so, yeah, I think that's probably where I'm at with it, to be honest.
So you're saying 80-20?
80-20 in terms of 80 being moved, 20% being extended.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there's chatter that, you know, maybe he likes it here or whatever, but I really think that this is a done deal. I think he's gone because think about it. He wants the big contract. The Ducks don't want to give it to him. And maybe it's all posturing and maybe we're just being strung along, but that fundamental fact, I don't think there's much of a chance of it changing.
Can I add something here also on that note? If it is something where he likes it here, he doesn't want to be moved, he wants to sign it, like he does actually want to stay, but he wants to get what he's worth. Yeah. If that's the case, why not do the exact same thing that we just said with Josh Manson?
Yeah.
If that's the case and it's not a situation of him wanting to test the market, and it is something of he likes it here, he's just kind of hardballing it, like why not just simply go to him and say, hey, here's this deal. We'll do 6 years for you. This will be here on July 1. You like it here? Look at what we can get for you on the open market.
The team you'll be on for 6 years will be better.
Yeah.
Well, here's my thing, though. I do think that the Ducks, let's just assume that Lindholm said, yes, I'll do 5 years, and they sign him. Like, clearly the Ducks don't just want to trade him, right? There has to be some degree of desire on the Ducks' end to bring him back. And, of course, we got to take almost everything with some grain of salt because this is just tip of the iceberg, the reports that we get. But it is a little bit troubling to me that the Ducks are even considering it, to be honest. I think that Hampus Lindholm does not, like, if Hampus Lindholm were to say yes to a 5-year deal, do you really think it's going to be 5 years with no bells and whistles, no trade clause, no high AAV? Like, that 5 years is still going to sting.
Well, and here's the other thing to add to that is, crap, I had something and now I just completely lost it.
I can continue to vamp if you want.
Go for it. It will come to me eventually.
So I find it a little bit troubling. And again, I don't know for sure that the Ducks really want him back, but I just find it a little troubling because even if it's a 5-year deal, it's still not a great deal. I mean, look at how Lindholm has played. Josh Manson's been a better player than Hampus Lindholm this year by a lot. Now, of course, he's been playing with Cam Fowler and not Jamie Drysdale, and I think playing with the 19-year-old makes a little bit of a difference than the most underrated defenseman in the NHL. Nevertheless, though, I don't know. I'm not high on any kind of deal.
I remembered where I was going with that. It's the situation of how much of this is just lip service, where what we've heard is that the Ducks aren't talking to the Lindholm camp.
Well, I think Verbeek and the Ducks need it. They need to instill a belief that they are trying to sign Lindholm, because otherwise, if other teams know that they're just trying to move on from him, that does lower your leverage a little bit, right? And so when you're negotiating, if you just go in and with the other side knowing they just want to get rid of him at all costs, you can't get the same. But if they think, oh, these guys actually really want to keep him or they're trying to keep him, that does change things. So to me, I think there's just a lot of smoke and mirrors here, and I just have a hard time believing that with everything that Pat Verbeek has said, that he is really trying to bring Hampus Lindholm back.
Yeah.
I mean, the reported offer would speak to that, because 5 years, let's be honest, is kind of laughable considering what Lindholm could get on the open market. He's getting 8 years times whatever on the open market. He is not like this offer from the Ducks. I understand that Lindholm likes it here and you might want to stay, but if you're his agent, how can you advise him to take that deal?
Yeah, like, I mean, let's just say he gets 6 times 9. I mean, just doing the quick math, 6 years at $9 million, for instance. And on the open market, let's say he gets 7 times 8. That's still $2 million more.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And of course,
because he can't get the 8th year if he goes to the open market.
And term is so important, right? I mean, even if you get a higher AAV, there is something to that security of a longer term contract and knowing that the money is going to be coming in for longer, right? That matters. And Lindholm has had injuries, and you just never know how long you're going to be around. So I think he gets traded, is what I'm trying to say.
And sure, maybe there's a concern about the Ducks' depth on the defense this season, but does this season really matter?
Well, they just traded Josh Manson, so I don't think they give about making the playoffs anymore.
Yeah, like that is not what this is about. They are replacing Josh Manson with Andre Schuster.
6x9?
Yeah, 6x9. Very nice.
Nice.
Very nice. So that's that. Rickard Rakell. I think Rickard Rakell is being moved. I think that
he didn't play on Sunday.
Probably picked up a very minor injury. I would
Did
bet.
He?
Well, they said he was injured.
They said, well, did he even come out of the game against New Jersey?
No, he played the entire game.
So he went from being able to play an entire game to he can't play I mean, it's of course possible that he's injured, but the timing
is incredibly. It's possible that there's a minor injury that they're just like.
Well, yeah, but that's the whole point, right? Is that okay? So here's the thing: if he has a minor injury and you're trying to make the playoffs, and not trade Rickard Rakell, he probably plays, right?
Yeah.
And so if Rickard Rakell is a minor injury and you're trying to trade him and you're trying not to have a Jacob Chychrun situation, then you sit him, right?
Yeah. And real quick, can we just talk about this? Without Rakell, the Ducks probably played one of their best games of the season. That Islanders game, the Ducks were so good at 5-on-5.
Yeah, the Islanders are also not.
They're better than the Ducks at 5-on-5. You keep saying that, and you keep forgetting the Ducks are way down below other teams. The Islanders are right at midpoint in the NHL.
Well, you know why the Ducks played well. You know why the numbers looked the way they looked, because the Ducks just played their better players. Because the Ducks are basically two teams to me. There's the top 6 and the bottom 6. The top 6 is a very good NHL team. And of course there's the blue line, and the bottom 6 is like an AHL team.
So the bottom 6 actually wasn't that bad.
I understand, but you get my point.
The fourth line wasn't bad. The third line was bad against the Islanders. The Lundestrom line was not good. But no,
is that a surprise?
No, not at all. But the Islanders are not.
You mean the Lundestrom line played a game? They showed up and gave what we expect.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see really quickly. Yeah, the Islanders are 17th. They're the first team below break even. The Ducks played they're 49.78 expected goals for percentage on the season. The Ducks outplayed them handily to the tune of it was 3 expected goals to 1.5.
Yeah, and just
on the back end of a back-to-back.
And talking about this season and their playoff hopes, I mean, now with Manson out, and you assume at least one more guy gets traded, and if it's any kind of return like the one we just saw, where it's a guy who might not even play for the Ducks or barely play for the Ducks this year, playoffs are looking not so great. I mean, I think that this kind of... Andre Schuster.
They weren't looking great before this. I mean, I looked at it.
Well, no.
The Ducks are realistically, if they wanted to if they were going to make the playoffs, they would need to get about 30 points out of their last 20 games.
Yeah.
And they have not been on a point per game, 500 point pace in a while. They've fallen off since Christmas, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, and they've fallen off since even when they've been healthy, they haven't been good.
Yeah.
So Yeah, it's just, but this is something that we've kind of known. It's nothing new, but it's just crystallizing now.
Yep. Real quick on Chychrun before, I guess we'll just get into questions because I don't really think there's anything else from those games to necessarily talk about.
I think the big narrative that has kind of been lost in the conversation we had so far, understandably so, is John Gibson. Continuing to really struggle, and just he had a bit of a better game against the Islanders, but particularly the Nashville game, late goal.
He was still negative against the Islanders. The Palmieri goal was rough. He had some really outstanding saves, but you look at the vast majority of the game, and he was fine, but he had a couple of bad goals, and he ends up at negative 1.3 expected goal or GSAX on the game. That's the difference to the game. The Ducks lose by 1.
Yep, and you look at the game against Nashville, right? The late goal to Colton Sissons. I think it's one of the worst goals I've ever seen him let in in his entire NHL career. I know that people said, "Oh, it's a perfect shot," but you just when you're an NHL goalie of supposedly that caliber, and it's a slap shot from the wing, like 1980s style. That's just it's not a great look to me.
He hasn't had a positive GSAX game since pre-All-Star break, which is a month ago. It's
also getting to the point where it's not just us saying it and pointing to stats like, GSAX. It's also Eric Stevens wrote an article yesterday about how the Ducks need to start maybe giving Anthony Stolarz more starts and that Gibson has not played well. I think when it reaches that level, that's when you know that shit is getting real. Here's my question. Would you trade John Gibson this offseason?
It depends on how confident you are in Lucas Dostal or what the goalie market looks like.
Well, I'm looking at it from a value perspective. Do you what are the chances now that John Gibson rebounds next year? Because I know that there's been the team excuse, but we're now on year 3 of him not being very good.
Let me ask you this.
Okay.
If the Maple Leafs flame out early and they're looking to really shake things up.
Yes.
Would they do Gibson for a Nylander?
Maybe. But here's the thing, though. If you were to get a William Nylander in return, which I don't know how likely that is.
Agreed. This is just me throwing stuff out there.
But to get something of that magnitude in terms of return, I feel like this is potentially the last year you can do it. Right?
Probably.
How many more bad seasons from John Gibson before his trade value is gone? Or because right now his contract, you could look at it a couple ways. You could say, well, he's cost controlled. He's presumably an elite goalie, and you have that certainty with him. Or the flip side of it is you could say, well, he's on the decline. He's got the cap figure that he does at $6.4 million, and he's a negative value asset. Right.
Yeah.
I just think that the window for him being a positive value asset is closing. And I think maybe we got a little caught this season where he had the really strong run and we thought, okay, maybe he's back now. I did. He was playing great.
No, I gave him credit for playing great. No doubt. He was in
the top 10 of GSAX for a while.
He went on a very hot 10 game stretch.
And even to start the year, he was kind of just average.
He was up and down. He wasn't the best. The Ducks were winning in some ways not in spite of him, but they were doing it with just very average goaltending. He wasn't winning the many games. That was what made us so excited.
Yeah, and so the biggest argument for saying that John Gibson is not possibly at fault is that we'll look at the team in front of him and how bad the Ducks are. Well, when the Ducks were good this season, way back when in the beginning of the season, in the before times, John Gibson was not playing that well. The Ducks were playing a sound 5-on-5 game, and John Gibson wasn't some world beater. And so I feel like that kind of hurts the case that, it's all about the team in front of him and that Dallas Eakins is this goalie killer. If that were true, then why isn't Anthony Stolarz also terrible? Right? Mm-hmm. I just think I spent way too much time on last Friday, waging this Gibson war on Twitter. But I really think we have to start acknowledging.
I guess.
We have to start acknowledging that it's also his fault. It's not just about the team in front of him or injuries or Carlisle or what have you. Like, it's just the things that people will pull out of their asses to excuse John Gibson is just starting to be insane to me. At a certain point, you got to call a spade, and John Gibson has sucked for now a decent portion of this season.
Yeah.
And I think we really need to start asking the question of not just should he play less, because that has been a yes for years now, but it's also at what point do you have to move on, because you can still get something for him and you can just figure it out. Like, you can figure it out in net. I think Anthony Stolarz could play far more games. Find yourself a 1A, 1B. Like, there's just ways that you can make that work without having to just keep rolling. Because at a certain point, the Ducks, like you said, are going to be more competitive. They're going to be contending. Do you trust John Gibson to be a positive value in a scenario like that?
Here's the question is, do you trust Anthony Stolarz to be that, though?
I trust Anthony Stolarz more than John Gibson right now.
With a bigger workload?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, how much bigger are we talking? Like, I think that in an ideal scenario, Anthony Stolarz is playing 40-ish games. I don't think you're giving him 50 to 60 games. I don't think any goalie should really play 50 to 60 games anymore.
Agreed. But and so it's really going to be a cost benefit analysis basically for the Ducks and what they could potentially get for him, and where they were at with Lucas Stossel and how they feel about his projection, and also, like I said, what's going to be out on the market. Honestly, I think Anthony Stolarz gets moved though
this season.
I think that you look at the amount of teams talking about looking for goaltending.
This is about
Toronto, Edmonton, a lot of Vegas with Leonard.
Yeah. What do you think the value is for a Stolarz though?
I mean, he's cheap. He's had great numbers. I think he can get you probably a second. Maybe I'm too high on that.
That seems high to me.
It's possible. I have no real concept.
He's a good goalie, but I think that with goalies, reputation and kind of past performance really matter. And he's a goalie with a really small track record, and he doesn't have kind of the accolades or the reputation that another goalie might.
What did Jack Campbell get the Kings?
I feel like he actually had a decent return.
Jack Campbell and Kyle Clifford were traded to the Maple Leafs by Los Angeles on Wednesday for Trevor Moore, a third-round pick in the 2020 draft, and a third-round pick in the 21 draft.
So I mean, that feels closer than the second-round pick you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, so a third-round pick instead of a second.
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, I just think that the Ducks are going to need a decent goalie, and I think Anthony Stolarz is that. And I'm not so... I think that Stolarz is great value for the Ducks because he gives them good goaltending, and he costs you practically nothing on the cap. So is a third-round pick really this kind of... Is the third-round pick worth giving that up? I don't think so. Yeah. Maybe now I'm just drinking... Maybe now I'm drunk on the Stoli Kool-Aid, but I really...
You're a little drunk right now.
I'm not... I don't think I'm drunk. I'm buzzed. I'm a little buzzed. I've had a couple, but I really think that it's important to in the NHL. It's important to have goaltending when you're trying to be any type of good. The Ducks only have one goalie right now that's giving them positive value, so you're going to trade him, and then I guess you go find another backup. But you have that backup right now, so I don't know. Maybe I'm just giving Stolarz too much credit.
Yeah, and I mean, I come back to this. How do they feel about Lucas Stossel? If they think he's ready to make the jump...
He's looked great when he's played this year.
If they think he's ready to make the jump and become a 1A, 1B, then sure. But I think it really comes down to the value of John Gibson to other teams. And I think there is a certain point, if the value's not there, then it's not worth moving him.
Remember here's the thing, though. It's kind of worth moving him to just not have him be playing goalie for you anymore, right? He hasn't been good.
True.
He's hurt it. At a certain point, you're going to need to win games. And as it turns out, you need a goalie to stop the puck in close games. I'm sorry.
No, I agree.
This is not a controversial take.
Yep. Agree. Fair.
I'm drunk right now.
You are. All right.
I'm not actually drunk.
Moving on to the other topic that I wanted to briefly talk about before we get into questions. Jacob Chychrun. He is out. He is out for what? It was announced 3 to 4 weeks. Was that right?
Does that deal still get done, though?
I think that it sounds like the Coyotes really want to move him.
now as opposed to this summer.
Yeah, it sounds like they are really making the push to just get him off their team, get him moved, and get that deal done. I think him being hurt, I don't think it necessarily impacts his value that much, because most of the teams that will be looking for him if they're in the playoff hunt aren't looking for him just for like this next 2-week period. They're looking for him for this playoff run, plus also a long-term kind of situation.
Right.
So I don't know if this necessarily impacts the Ducks or makes the Ducks more of a front runner, because they don't really care if he can play right now or not. But I mean, it's possible it does. I just really don't think it, because I've been asked that a couple times today. Honestly.
The Ducks have been linked to Chychrun over and over.
Yeah. And it's a team that I think Pierre LeBrun made the report on. They're a team that he had personally not heard of being linked to the Ducks until recently.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a new development from Pierre.
Can you imagine if the Ducks come out of this with Chychrun, you move on from Lindholm Manson, you've got Helleson, you maybe add another prospect through Raquel? Like, your standing long-term is a lot prettier than it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it happens.
Would you move this year's first for Chychrun?
No. Because I think it's gonna get better and better.
Would you move next year's first?
I would be more open to that, because I think they're going to be better next year.
Okay.
I also think next year they're going to try to win.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you think they're going to try to make the playoffs next year?
Yeah.
Like, what's this offseason going to look like?
I think they're going to try to build a team that can try to start pushing for the playoffs, because
I'm forgetting where we heard this, but I think Verbeek has even said that he's looking to add through free agency.
Yes, he is.
This summer.
Yeah,
So
I think he said that. He said that somewhere. All right, let's get to some questions. So we're going to start with our Patreon Discord. Darko Theory said, where does Sam Steele go after this season? And so we're starting from the oldest one to the newest, so there's going to be a couple of non-Manson ones. So,
non-Manson questions?
Yeah. So, and Sam Steele's an RFA, so where do they go? Do the Ducks qualify him?
I think so. Well, this is so hard now with Verbeek because we just don't really know quite as well, but I feel like he's done enough this year. I mean, he's just going to be a cheap kind of filler player.
Yeah.
You need those guys at a certain point. So I think that, yeah, they keep him around for depth.
Yeah.
That's who he is now. He's just a depth forward, and that's fine.
Yep. I would agree with that completely, and I'm trying to just very quickly.
Like, we need to stop talking about Sam Steele now in the context of, oh, he's this impact or could be this impact player or whatever. Like, no, he's just he's a fine,
and I mean,
fine depth piece.
Here's his QO. His QO would be 917,000.
They'll qualify him.
Yeah,
he'll be a duck. He'll be a duck.
They'll qualify.
Yeah.
So
like what's the impetus to trade him or not bring him back or anyway?
Yep.
Sorry.
JJ Stone Drum says, "What's your perfect hockey score? I like a good 4-3 or 3-2 type of game. You get some goals, but not no one's getting blown out."
Wow, that is an interesting question. I've never thought about this.
7-5.
I think mine is 4-2.
Yeah, I think I would agree.
Just
with that.
as a former goalie, I don't want to see any goalie stats get too destroyed. Because 5-3 would be my second best.
I would say. Go ahead.
I think 4-2 is ideal. Fourth one usually being in the empty net though. You want a 3-2.
I'll just be different. I'll go 5-3 with the fifth one being in the empty net.
Yeah, so, I want a 1-goal game basically.
Yeah. D Frenzy said, now that Bob Murray is a scout for the Flames, are there any possible trades that could happen between the Ducks and the Flames?
Sorry, I take it back. My ideal score is 5-4 in a shootout. My ideal game has a shootout in it. Okay, continue.
That may be the thing that will get you the most hate. So now this came from D Frenzy. Now that Bob Murray is a scout for the Flames, are there any possible trades that could happen between the Ducks and the Flames?
I feel like they're not.
Manson would have been the only one I would have made that connection on. So I don't really see others.
No. Moving on.
Okay. Keydet Matt 15 says, does Chychrun's injury help or hurt the Ducks' chances of trading for him? Like I kind of said, I don't think it makes a difference.
If anything, helps because they might just hang around longer than other teams might.
Yeah, and other teams may want him healthier because of the playoffs, but I don't think it makes that big of a difference. JJ Stone Drum says, will Manson re-sign with the Ducks in the offseason, making this trade look even better? You have to make a prediction one way or the other.
Does that make it look better, though? I feel like it's just
If
it just kind of is what it is.
Yeah, but you still moved a
it's
guy.
neutral.
You still have the player for the future. Plus, you got the picks and prospects.
I'm gonna say no because I don't think it matters.
I'm going to go with yes then. And we'll come back to this. I don't know. I want to be different than you. Sometimes we have to disagree.
I'm aware. I'm aware of that.
Hey Yo Deflus said, I think Olaf Berserker mentioned this in the main chat, but does the Manson deal affect our perception of what Lindholm and Raquel will fetch?
I don't think so because I think Manson's market is just completely different.
I also think that, I don't know if we talked about this a whole lot, but the no movement clause I think probably limited the leverage that the Ducks had in terms of this deal.
I said that multiple times.
We've been talking for over an hour.
That's what I'm saying is like his market is just not comparable, really.
Yeah, and I also think that you look at the stretch of play that Raquel's had. Raquel's been fantastic, and honestly, I mentioned this, I think it was just to you before we started recording, but that Manson deal is almost kind of similar to what Tyler Toffoli got for the Kings from Vancouver with a second and Tyler Madden. It was essentially 2 second-round picks. And so if that was the ask and what Tyler Toffoli got and this is what Manson got, I would say it's probably about going to be the same type of deal for a Rickard Rakell. Maybe even a little bit more because he's on a scoring bender right now.
Yes.
And so I don't think it's really
there could be more teams on him than Manson.
Yep.
So
we have a couple of city recommendations that we will get to in the shit show part of the show. That guy Bobsky said, question, noted Troy Terry hashtag creator, Jake Rudolph, or this is for Jake Rudolph. Troy Terry is 1 point away from 100 in his career. How does he get it and win?
I thought the question's for you.
It is, but I was gonna let you go first, but fine. I'm gonna go say he gets it on Friday because I will be in attendance, and he ends up scoring a breakaway goal.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah. SP84 said, was this trade a good trade for both teams?
Yes.
Yes. Appa AG says, follow up. Who gets the apples on Troy Terry's goal?
Zegras and Milano.
I'm going to go with Fowler. CZO said, is tomorrow going to be Raquel's last game as a Duck, and will they put him on a line with the Breadman when he is traded to the Rangers?
I think he's already played his last game.
Mm-hmm. That guy Bobsky said, could Gibson / Lundestrom be the center of a Jacob Chychrun deal? I'm going to say no. Gibson doesn't make any sense for them.
Yeah, I don't think it's compatible.
I mean,
no.
they're a rebuilding team. They want someone that's younger. They're not going to want a John Gibson on their team.
No
need at all. All right, I got a couple in Twitter DMs that I want to just quickly get to. Justin Beck said, sorry in advance for bringing up plus minus, but super curious how Drysdale is minus 18 and Lindholm is even. Can you explain that?
I mean, doesn't that kind of tell you why you shouldn't pay attention to plus minus?
Yeah.
If two guys in the same pairing can have wildly different stats, even though they play together the grand majority, like exclusively together.
Yeah, I mean, and
normalize not paying attention to plus minus.
Yeah, and here's how. I looked this up and I accidentally closed the tab. But together, they've been on the ice for 33 goals for, 33 against. Drysdale without Lindholm has been on the ice for only 3 goals for and 14 against. Lindholm by himself, Lindholm without Drysdale, 11 goals for, 11 goals against. And though the Drysdale one of a 17% goals for percentage does not necessarily reflect the expected goals for percentage when he's on the ice. It's not great at 44%, but it's sure not 17%. So that's why don't look at plus minus. Don't always even look at goals for percentage, because also with Drysdale, he's out on the power play a lot of times, and shorthanded goals count as a minus. Empty net goals count as a minus. Shorthanded goals against don't count as a minus. So plus minus is a bad stat because it picks and chooses.
Normalize not looking at plus minus.
Yep. Let's see. Good friend of the show, Trevor Zegras, sent another question. Especially with all the attention the Ducks are getting because of Zegras, when do you think the Ducks will get an outdoor game and against who?
Ooh, that is a good question. I feel like they probably try to do the again, right?
Sorry, say that again. You cut out slightly.
Oh, I feel like they might try to just do the SoCal rivalry again. Like, is that not the most logical
I mean, how long has it
matchup
been?
for the Ducks?
It's been almost a decade.
I feel like the outdoor games have almost, like, if it's not the Winter Classic, they're almost like regional games now where you're trying to really captivate one area. I mean, you saw it with Toronto Buffalo this weekend, the Heritage Classic. I forgot the Heritage Classic was happening, but it was a huge deal in those markets. And I'm thinking that maybe that's the approach here if it's not a Winter Classic. So I could see it being Ducks Sharks, Ducks Kings. Maybe you do a Ducks Kraken. I mean, just to kind of pump their tires, but I think it would still be another California team.
Yep, agreed. And then he also asked, do you think Nick Robertson is on the table? Would be cool if we could get a lot of Zegras' Team USA teammates. Was Robertson on that Team USA?
I don't think so.
Maybe it was on the year before.
Yeah, I feel like he wasn't, but
no,
I haven't committed World Junior rosters.
I mean,
to memory.
supposedly the Leafs are in on Lindholm, and I think Robertson could potentially be on the table for that deal.
I'm tired of hearing about the Leafs. I'm just so tired of it. Maybe it's because I listen to 32 Thoughts and
it's because
all the different podcasts.
It's because they're good, and so of course everyone's going to talk about trades.
No, but all of this narrative about their goaltending, it's just make it stop.
It's bad.
Make it stop. I should maybe just stop watching Canadian broadcasts. Maybe that's where I should start.
So I'm going to start here. So anyone in the Twitch chat, there's a lot of questions. So if you haven't heard yours asked by a certain point, just throw it back in. I'm starting with Dalton Key's question, though. We were hearing Getzlaf's name a lot last season in trade rumors. Why do you think we haven't heard basically anything about him this time around?
Well, because he wasn't traded last year, and I feel like it's just well established now. I mean, by his own admission, that he enjoys being a Duck and wants to be a one-team guy. Like, I feel like he's if he hasn't said that specifically, he's hinted at it pretty hard. So I just feel like last year kind of shot it down, basically.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I think just
and there's probably inside info that he doesn't want to get dealt, right?
Yeah,
like that's probably part. I mean, there's a reason names end up out there, and I think that maybe the reason that Getzlaf's name ended up out there last year was because he was at least somewhat considering it. I mean, look, there was the deal on the table to Vegas, but it just doesn't seem like this year it's even a thought.
Yep. Also, forgot to mention, these questions are coming from Twitch. If you want to support us, go to twitch.tv/crashthepond. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free Twitch Prime gaming sub each and every time, or you get one free Twitch Prime gaming sub, and you can subscribe to us by hitting that subscribe button after 30 days, and it does help support us more than you can imagine. Goons Never Say Die asks, what's the best realistic deal for Hampus, and what's your top end prospect you can get for him again? Realistically.
You answer this.
I think it's going to be a first and a really good prospect. I think.
Yeah, well, I mean that's established, but the prospect in question.
I think it would be like a first and a Nick Robertson, a first and a what's his name, Liljegren. I think it's not going to be the top guy, but it's going to be a pretty good prospect that you can get.
Yep.
And so Famous AB said, question, how do the Ducks look next season in your opinion?
I think that they're going to, well, I think they're trading everyone. We haven't talked about Nick Delorier much, but I feel like he's likely on the move.
I mean, by the logic of Pat Verbeek, he basically said every UFA that is unsigned to an extension, he wants to move because he does not want to lose them for nothing.
I love it.
Nick Delorier is that, right? There has been zero talk of an extension.
Yep. So I think he's gone. So I think the Ducks are going to sell the farm this year. And by sell the farm, I don't mean their farm system, but just sell everybody. And then I think that this summer, Pat Verbeek starts the build portion of the rebuild. And I think that he's going to bring in some free agents. I think you're going to have continued internal improvement from the younger players. You're going to have, Troy Terry being firmly in his prime. And I think that the Ducks are going to be a much more serious playoff contender next year. I'm also really curious what the Pacific will look like because, San Jose could continue to be really, really bad next year. LA, they're depending on a lot of aging pieces. Vancouver is a wild card. So I think that there is a door there for the Ducks to walk through and become a playoff team next year.
Yep. Let's see. B. Doddles asked, question, what area would you look for in a return in Lindholm and Raquel deals? More D-men, goalie, what kind of area would you want to look at?
I still think that the Ducks need more dynamic forwards in their system. I mean, they have some really good ones, but you do still want to keep building that up. So that is something that I would favor, but building out your blue line is also not this like bad thing either.
Yep, agreed. I think you just want to get high end players, whatever you can get, whoever ends up being. Get
someone who's a legitimate swing and not just kind of a low ceiling type guy. Like I think Helleson is maybe a little more on the floor side of things, but I think he does seem to have some upside.
Yeah, really quickly backtracking slightly to kind of what you said about the Ducks next season. It almost feels like they're in a spot to almost try to do what the Kings did last offseason.
Yeah.
And make some splashes. I don't know how I feel about this, but do they take a run at Johnny Gaudreau?
I mean, we've talked about it. We've talked about it. I think that they'll try. I think that the Flyers are just going to outspend everybody and make it happen. But I mean, I don't think it's crazy because, like, even though it might not feel completely right, these are the years that you kind of have to go for it because you've got your young players on ELCs. They're going to end up costing. It's going to be harder. So try to make the big moves now and see where it falls.
The only concern is locking guys up to term. I think if you can get guys for 4 or 5 years with the higher AAV like they're trying to do with Lindholm, I think that would make more sense.
Yep.
So, all right. So next question, M. Hendrickson 61 said, fun non-trade deadline question. If the World Juniors do end up resuming in August and rosters aren't frozen from last January, would you send McTavish, Zellweger, Drysdale and risk a Kirby Dach-esque scenario playing out? McTavish hasn't really had a chance to settle in with any given team this past year, give or take, and will probably be part of a deep Memorial Cup run. Does any of our January participants' stock change?
So we're talking about sending them where?
To the World Juniors that are slated to be in August.
I
don't
know.
I mean, Drysdale's a no. McTavish is a no.
Yeah, Zellweger makes sense because he's so young, and I think he's still got some development time. But
Zellweger, it depends on how they view him and if they want him to, because it's going to conflict somewhat with camp and prospect camp and things like that, and so it depends on how they view that.
Yeah, there's just not really, I think, a ton of upside to sending them, personally.
Yeah, yep, agreed. I think maybe whoever you take in the first round this year, maybe he goes. Pastujov, I think, would still probably go. Yep. Those types of guys. I think Zellweger's too high at this point to go. Sith Lord Buscemi said, question, do we see Helleson this year, and who is his D partner?
Ooh. I think that we do see him this year, and in terms of a partner, I mean, I'm assuming Lindholm's gone.
Put him with Fowler.
Yeah, why not? Put him with. That actually probably makes the most sense.
Fowler's the one that Fowler's the one that can protect guys the most and really help out. Tristan Miss said, question, what do you think of the Ducks and Kubalik? That was something we haven't talked about. Was that Chicago writer has said that the Ducks are supposedly high on Kubalik, in on Kubalik, however you want to take it. What are your opinions on that?
I don't think Kubalik is worth giving up assets for.
Agreed.
I think that he's a very one-dimensional player who had one really good
high shooting percentage season playing with Patrick Kane,
and kind of just doesn't do a whole lot else for you. So I mean, we're seeing it like with Max Comtois this season. These guys who rely on that shot to drive their value, when the shot is not going in, they just don't have much else to offer, and I feel like Kubalik is that.
Yeah, and and also with his QO is going to be high. It just doesn't make sense. So I the only way that I would be okay with it is if it's a very low cost acquisition, like a 5th round pick.
Sure, but he's not even that young.
No,
I don't really see
a fifth round pick with a 3-year extension at like a couple mil, maybe.
Yeah, but that's not happening.
No, so. That's the thing is, in order to talk myself into it, it turns into an unrealistic situation.
Exactly.
Which tells you everything you need to know. Anime Holics D94 said, question, the reaction to this trade is once again revealed how general public grossly overvalues first-round picks. People act like players outside of first-round picks are scrubs. Would be cool for you to talk about this reaction and how we so often see this so often from fans towards trades. Why do you think there is this misvalue in the eyes of the public?
So the question is about, first round picks being overvalued.
Yeah, and just kind of how people probably viewed this trade and saw there wasn't a first, and we're like, okay, well, this is a nothing trade then, because there's no first rounder in it.
Yeah, I do think that is a little bit of a stretch. I mean, I understand that the first round pick carries a certain weight and it is important, but keep in mind that this is a first round pick coming from a very good team. And so getting the the difference between the player you could get at 28, 27, 29 and a player that you can get late in the second round is probably not as big as people think it is.
Yeah.
Because you see guys slide all the time.
Yeah, and I think what we end up with is people don't necessarily think about the actual draft position with that value.
Exactly.
And so I think, I think you're spot on. And I think what this is also missing is the actual value of Helleson and where his value is at this
because
point.
I think Helleson is a well-regarded prospect, and that is where I see him as kind of like the quote-unquote first-round pick value in this.
Yep. CJK Chill said, would you be against going into next season with Gibson? Then if he's still struggling around Thanksgiving, you move him. Do you see his value coming down that much by then?
Yeah, I mean, hey guys, who wants our struggling goalie? You want this guy who's having another bad season for the fourth year in a row? Like, to be able to get value, you can't just sell. You can't expect to sell low and expect to get something decent in return. Like other teams are going to hold that against you because they don't want to use their premium assets. And so that's why I think that trading Gibson sooner rather than later, while he hasn't completely bottomed out, is probably the smarter thing to do.
Yeah. So let's see, what was the next question? Because there's a bunch of kind of repeats now. Austin Price said, I know this might be tough to project, but with the trade of Manson and most likely Lindholm, what do you guys think of our defense pairs look like in 2022-2023?
Okay, so next season's defense. First pairing is Fowler Drysdale.
Yeah, I think so.
Second pairing, is it Benoit and Shattenkirk? I'm asking you.
Sorry, I'm moderating something.
Okay. Okay. Well, so it's kind of hard to know who they're going to go out and get. I don't know if Helleson will be on the team to start next year, but let's assume that he is. You've got Fowler with Drysdale. You've got Benoit with Shattenkirk. And then on your third pairing, I think that you could have probably Mahura Helleson. I think that would be kind of interesting. I don't know. I doubt that this is what it's going to look like, though, because we know that Pat Verbeek values bigger guys, some experience, and so I would imagine that this is going to look a lot different. I'm actually curious what the Ducks are going to do with Kevin Shattenkirk as well, because he's got a year left on his contract, does not fit the timeline. Do they just let him? I mean, do they let him ride it out if they're in a playoff scenario next season, or do they trade him? I just don't really know. It's going to be interesting.
I didn't hear you mention, as I was doing that, I didn't hear you mention Jacob Chychrun.
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah.
Jacob Chychrun, first pairing.
Yeah, exactly. Come on. Let's see. NM Malug. Sorry if that's just horrible mispronunciation. Assuming Akins is let go, do you have anyone in particular you would like to be behind the bench next year?
I don't have any candidates, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't either. Like, it's tough because I just have no idea at all. Yeah. Let's see, because trying to just piece through all of these. Let's see. Rooch20 said, question, any chance the Ducks go on a complete fire sale this trade deadline?
I mean, that's kind of what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the answer is yes, there is a chance.
Yeah, I think that is actually what they're going to end up doing. Let's see. We haven't really talked about Nick Deslauriers. What do you think he gets in return?
Third round pick.
Yeah.
Fourth round pick.
Yep. If they got a third, I'd be happy. Extremely happy.
Yeah.
Let's see. Famous AB says, who will be the leadership if Getzlaf is gone next season?
Do you think they name a captain if Getzlaf is gone next year? I feel like they might just not name a captain for a year and then probably ride the 3 assistants or whatever, and then the year after they will then name a captain. I don't know.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think they'll probably wait for Trevor Zegras to come in and really kind of take over that captaincy role. I mean, maybe it's Troy Terry. Who knows?
Yeah.
Are you ready for the shit show part of the show?
Sure. Let's do it.
So here we go. Lewis X209 always coming in with a great city. Well, I should rephrase that. He has been kind of cold of late. He said Gaspé, Quebec.
How do you spell that?
Gaspe.
Oh yeah, this is this is actually a really nice region of Quebec.
Did Lou let us down yet again?
This doesn't fit. I'm sorry.
Lou,
I'm going to say no.
Lou, why? Why are you doing this to us? Why are you giving us such bad places?
I'm calling the bluff.
Let's see. Who else has recommendations? Prince Rupert, British Columbia from Will.
When are we going to start doing cities in other countries is the real question.
I don't know. Anyone have other countries?
Prince Rupert. This is so remote. This is actually really remote.
Lou's mad that we didn't even zoom in on the Gaspé. All right, here, fine. I'm zooming in for you, Lou. This looks way too nice. Wait, birthplace of Canada in Gaspé?
Oh, is that the first? Interesting. Okay.
We're back on Gaspé, I guess. Let's see. I'm giving Lou a redemption appearance.
Okay. Fair enough.
Here we go.
I don't know what we're looking at.
I don't know. I'm just going down the streets, kind of seeing what there is.
I hold this town in some degree of esteem, of regard, and so birthplace of Canada, which is temporarily closed.
Does it have a review?
Yeah, let's see.
The plaques all through the area are nicely set up in French and English.
Free stop to see the birthplace of Canada. There are a few large artifacts with descriptions in English and French. Parking is across the street. That seems like an issue. This very cute historical center with ships is right by the water. There is a big art display as well as historical plaques all over explaining the birthplace. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Not a bad recommendation, finally.
Okay. So
apologies to Lewis. We'll give him his flowers.
Yeah, what was the other place again?
Prince Rupert, British Columbia. So I feel like we're starting to pick cities that might have a higher chance of someone listening from there.
Okay.
Maybe not this one though. So Prince Rupert is basically almost in Alaska. I mean, you're like getting very close to Alaska at that point. There is just not a whole lot going on here.
It's like the distance from Vancouver of like LA to like, oh no, it's further than Sacramento or San Francisco.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Let's see. There is a Safeway. Okay. That's kind of interesting. There's a Walmart.
It looks like there's a mountain. There's the Black Rooster Inn and Apartments.
Yeah. PJ's Food too.
You can stay at the Black Rooster Inn and Apartments for a low price of $136 a night.
That seems incredibly high. Am I crazy here? Is rent that high in British Columbia?
I don't know. Let's see what the Black Rooster place looks like. Let's see these. This is a room there.
Okay. I mean, it looks kind of nice. There's a gym if you want to get your workout in.
Wow. Get swole.
Bathrooms look kind of miserable though, but there is a nice quaint feel to it. Sure. I feel like it's just extremely cold up here and gloomy. So, Rupert. I don't know what Rupert Rooms is.
I don't know.
This is described as a room.
we got. Oh wait. Oh, I guess there's a place. Should we do GeoGuessr?
What's that?
Or should we save that for the next episode and test run it? Basically, they give you like an image and you have to try to piece together where it's from.
Okay. I'm here for it.
Do we do that right now or save it for the next episode? Next episode.
Yeah, save it for next. Save it for next.
Yeah. Let's see.
I'm just confused that there's the Rupert Rooms is still throwing me off.
Let's do this. I'm going to we got this Iceland, and then I'm going to briefly try to look up GeoGuessr and see if I can figure it out right now.
Okay.
But this place is, I go to our Twitch chat. It's from PC Main.
Kirk Ube Yarklastor.
Yeah.
Iceland.
Yeah.
Oh my. This is going to be interesting.
I just went for a copy and paste. There's not a street.
Hold on. I need to see this.
There's one street? Is there a street? There's no street. Oh. I can
Oh my god.
Oh wow. This is beautiful.
Yeah, I feel like it's nice, but holy crap, it's just so remote. Yeah, I don't know if I could. Yeah, there's no street view. That's frustrating.
There's like location views though.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this is nice, but god, it just looks so remote. I don't know if I could handle living in a place like this.
Oh, we're in the hotel. I'm in the hotel.
I need to be on a major continent, I think.
This looks like a really nice hotel. Very
the Hotel Closter, is that the one you're looking at?
Yeah. Oh, and now I'm in a hotel room. Guys.
There's actually reviews on the Hotel Closter.
We're
easily accessible by car. Parking available. Guests appreciated the large bathrooms. Why is this about the guests? Guests like the clean rooms, though some comments and maintenance could be improved. Oh, this is like the Google algorithm telling us. There's 431 reviews about this hotel.
The Hotel Closter?
That's actually insane. This must be a popular spot. This one is from Rachel Roop. Actually, should we find a bad review?
It's a 3-star.
All the reviews are really high.
The pictures look really nice.
Rachel Roop.
There's a pool and a slide.
Yeah, this is insane.
How have we gone from talking about Josh Manson for Drew Helleson to now talking about slides?
There's a waterfall.
This
apparently.
Podcast is insane.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm impressed. This is actually a really good call. This is a good shout.
Yeah.
There's so many excellent reviews for this place. Like I'm baffled.
Yeah. PC Main said he randomly picked a spot and it came out to be very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Can I briefly get GeoGuessr up?
What is GeoGuessr?
No, you have to create an account. I want to keep. I'll do that later. Basically, okay. It gives you like
too much work.
It gives you like a Google image of a specific place, like just random like Google image, and you have to try to guess where it's from.
Mm-hmm.
And so like you could get a picture with the Statue of Liberty, and so I was like, oh, okay, New York. It could also just be a picture of a bus.
Okay.
And it like try to figure out what city it's in, and it could be Climax, Felix.
That's true. We all want a climax, so.
Oh, wait. Now people are saying it's Google Map and you can, like, walk around and stuff. Maybe I just don't know what GeoGuessr is.
Yeah, me neither. I definitely don't know what it is. I'm sitting here very confused.
Yeah. Let's see. Are there any food takes that we should... Okay, should we just go with Lewis's final food take?
Sure.
Bacon reeks. Smells horrible.
You know, I will say this. Actually, I feel like I had one earlier. Oh, did I say this in the podcast? I'm saying it now. Sorry, Lewis. Your take's going to have to wait. Let me present you pre-sliced fruit. If you buy your fruit pre-sliced in a box, I find that to be a bit offensive. Why can't you just buy the actual fruit, get a damn knife, cut it yourself, and just carry on? Like, I was in line at Sprouts last week, and behind me is this individual who has multiple boxes of pre-sliced fruit. And I'm just thinking to myself, is it so hard to just buy the actual fruit and just do it yourself? It is just, does no one have any pride anymore? So, anyway, that's my rant against sliced fruit. Look, I get it. If you're in a hurry, if you're planning an event, what have you, like I guess there's an explanation for it, but I just think buy the real thing. Do it yourself. Nothing wrong with that. No rules against that. And then to Lewis's take, yeah, bacon is slightly overrated, but it does not smell bad and it is good.
I've bought pre-sliced fruit many a time.
I'm sure you have.
Many a time.
Well, because you're the utility guy. You're this is efficient.
Yeah.
Some things in life are about more than just efficiency. And this is one of them.
Sometimes you just want to grab it and eat it and have it all have it nice and easy. Especially pre-sliced pineapple. That's so much easier.
Also, what about the environment? Those plastic containers add up, Jake. Okay.
Cheers.
Yeah, I mean, I actually have a glass bottle next to me, so
wow,
there you go.
Wow,
I'm green.
Wow,
I'm green.
Lou also said, and this is correct, eggs also reek.
They don't. Eggs are great.
Nope.
Love eggs.
Nope.
I mean, eggs do have a certain smell. I will agree that they can be a bit of an issue, but I would still push back.
Yeah, bacon's a great food.
Yep. I mean, it's fine. I don't think we should be careful not to overrate it because a lot of people do.
I mean, bacon's fantastic.
It's fine. Don't give it more than it deserves.
Sure. Any final closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts. Excited. Just excited to see what comes next. I mean, this has been a journey to get to this point of seeing finally the Ducks make a trade of consequence, and I'm just really curious to see what happens next. So that's my closing thought. Oh, also excited for Obi-Wan Kenobi. You know, there was a chance that Darth Maul was going to be in it, and they pulled it.
I mean, that would make sense from the timeline.
Yeah, but screw the timeline. We want Darth Maul.
Okay. CJ KHL said, are we pro strawberry milk in here?
Ugh. No.
I don't know if I've ever actually had strawberry milk.
Ugh, that sounds disgusting. No. Hell no.
I just need to go at Lou's final awful take here. Barbecue pizza is bad. He's wrong.
It's not great. I might actually agree. I don't think it's bad, but it's not great.
Oh, it's good. It's good.
It's fine.
It's good.
It's fine. It is what it is. It's a net neutral.
I think. Wait, I'm just gonna simply say this. You are banned from having pizza takes.
Me?
Yes.
What did I do? Has my cheese pizza take been set on here? I think it has.
Yes, it has. Your pizza takes get thrown out the door.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Wrong, but fair enough.
All right. If you want to take us out, go for it. I need to do something real quick in here.
All right. Well, if you have enjoyed what you have heard today, folks, there are a few ways to help support our show. The number one way is through our Patreon page, patreon.com/crashthepond. There are a few tiers of support. The number one that I recommend to you that you're going to get the most enjoyment out of for the lowest cost is $1 a month. You get access to our patrons-only Discord server. You get to connect with other diehard Ducks fans. You get to connect with other people who follow the team religiously. Maybe if you're not quite a diehard yet, but you just want to learn more, this is a great way to do that. And like we've talked about throughout the show, we've got different channels in there to discuss food, pop culture, what have you. We've got it in there, and it's a lot of fun, and that's for $1 a month. Now, for $5 a month, you get access to that, and on top of that, 2 bonus episodes. And this is a great month to join in because we're going to be doing an episode breaking down every single trade of the trade deadline. So not just the Ducks perspective, but every single trade. So these are massive episodes, but they're some of our favorite ones. And in other months, we'll do, again, league-wide rankings, give you a bit of a more league-wide perspective and a little more unfiltered as well. Now, for $15 a month, that's just basically giving us a great big hug. And that's all at patreon.com/crashthepond. Now, you don't have to pledge any money, though, monthly to support us. You can still check us out on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a rating and a review on there. Those go a really long way. And if you leave us a review, we will read it on the show. We don't have any to read this week, but if you do, we will definitely shout you out. We really, really appreciate those. You can also check us out on Spotify. Leave us a rating there. That is a new thing. And you can also find us on YouTube, youtube.com/crashthepond. See the video format of the show. See all the different charts, the random cities. You can see Jake holding his dear cat, Salem, at the end of this. And I just heard a little purring. Great. I'm hearing a lot of purring now. That is good. That is good. She looks pretty happy. She hasn't jumped out of your arms yet.
No, she got real mad at first, though. I may have woke her up from her nap.
So that's at youtube.com/crashthepond. Make sure to subscribe and turn on your notifications. And make sure to check out our website, crashthepond.com. We're going to have articles going up there this week talking about the trade deadline, breaking down every trade. You can find Crash the Pod on social media, at Crash the Pod on Twitter, and we're on Facebook as well. Jake is on Twitter at ReindeerGames91, and I'm on Twitter at Felix_Sicard. That is going to do it for us tonight, guys. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you in a week. And, oh boy, buckle up. It's gonna be an interesting one. Talk to you then.
Bye.